Within a year after my dad's death, I was addicted to heroin. I was addicted for 14 years. I quit when I was 28 years old. And during that period, when I was in early recovery, is when all of these things started to make sense to me. My Catholic upbringing, all of this confluence of philosophy and theology and self-examination and pain that you go through. We grow through pain. Pain is ultimately the touchstone of spiritual growth. And addicts have a unique opportunity for redemption because they've been to hell. It destroys your life, and it destroys your relationships, and it hurts everybody that you love, and it makes you into a liar. Whenever you're living against conscience, which you're doing if you're addicted, you push God over the periphery of your horizon. So there is a complete disconnection. I feel like I was like a one-dimensional human being, that I was a collection of appetites that needed to be fed all the time, and that becomes a full-time job. When I finally got sober, I came in, with my life wrecked, and I came in on my knees, and I made a decision. I knew I needed a spiritual realignment. And then I picked up this book by Carl Jung called Synchronicity. It was a kind of synchronicity that it was sitting on a table. And the reason I picked it up was because there was an album by The Police that had just been released, and it had the same name, and I didn't know what the word was. So I picked it up out of curiosity. And synchronicity is a coincidence. It's like one of those things that happens to all of us. When we start noticing them, it happens more often. An example would be you're talking about somebody who you haven't seen or thought about in 20 years. And the phone rings, and it's that person on the phone. And these little things happen to us all the time, right? And Jung saw those as interventions by God who would reach through the universe and break all of his own rules, the rules of mathematics, arithmetic, of percentages of chance, and of time and space, would reach through and do these little things to touch us on the shoulder and kind of say, I'm here, you're looking at a miracle. And Jung was a deeply spiritual man. Jung began having these very authentic spiritual experiences when he was a kid. And he remembers the dreams that he had and these synchronicities, other authentic spiritual experiences that kind of guided his life in this extraordinary way. What he says is that I can't use empirical tools and scientific tools to prove the existence of a God, but that I can prove that, having seen tens of thousands of patients come through his hospital, that people who believe in God get better faster and that their recovery is more durable and enduring. And for me, reading that was much more impactful than if he had said that he had proven the existence of a God, which I would not have believed.
Right.
What he was saying was, it's irrelevant if there's a God up there or not. If you believe in one, your chances of living a healthier life and of recovery are better, and it's an easier path. And at that point in my life, I had made a vow that I would do anything at all, if it increased my chance of recovery by even 1%. But I made a decision, I'm going to start believing in God because it's going to improve my chance of recovery. And then I'm confronted with the dilemma of how do you start believing in something that you can't see or smell or touch or taste or hear or acquire with your senses. And Jung solves that problem by saying, fake it till you make it. Act as if. And he said, the faith will precede the evidence, that there will be evidence that will be overwhelming. I immediately, while I was reading this book, I said, okay, this is the answer. So I'm just going to start pretending there's a God up there, that he's looking at me all the time, and that life is kind of a test, and that, we're supposed to do the right thing, and I'm supposed to behave myself even when I don't have an audience, so even when nobody's watching me. The day I finished that book, I went out on a volleyball field. I was playing volleyball, and somebody hit the ball on a very, very powerful punch. It went way up, and then it came down and hit the top of the post, and it made this errant flight back up again. And as it was relaunching, I said, so that everybody on the field heard me, I said, that ball is going to get hit by a Mack truck. I don't know why I said that. I have no idea, but everybody heard me say it. And the ball went up and landed on a chain link fence, and then it bounced on the other side, and it rolled down about 40 yards into a main thoroughfare. And this giant 18-wheel diesel came by and popped it with just a resounding pop. And everybody looked at me for a second, or like, wow, how'd you do that? Oh, at that point, I had just finished this book about synchronicity. And I was like, okay, I can either just dismiss that the way that I would as a weird coincidence, or I can just say that, this is God's way of talking to me, and I'm going to accept that, and I'm going to accept the beauty of it.